Welcome to a very special Christmas episode of Perfect Night In. I'm your host Neil Perryman, and today's guest is the brilliant and wonderful Paul Magrs. Now, we'd probably be here till next Christmas if we listed everything Paul has written over the years, but he did ask me to mention his book The Christmas Box, which is published by Obverse Books, because it would make the perfect accompaniment to this podcast. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and meet him. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Neil.
First of all, let me say thank you very much for agreeing to share your perfect Christmas night in with us.
I'm really glad to be here and I'm feeling really, really Christmassy.
It's 7 o'clock, it's snowing outside, we're sitting here under the mistletoe. There's only one thing missing.
Put something on the telly. My first choice is obviously The Box of Delights, which is for me, the best ever kids show, best ever adaptation of a kids classic, and it arrived for me on TV when I was, 14, so I was at the end of watching a whole lifetime of children's TV, and I should have been growing up and growing out of stuff like that and growing out of Doctor Who, but it was part of that whole world because of the presence of Patrick Troughton as this amazing, magical Punch and Judy man in this story about snow and wolves and magic boxes and Herne the Hunter and all these kind of fabulous mythological things. It's like a kind of 1930s mashup of all my favourite stuff, except I didn't know it. That was my favourite stuff till I watched it then, and it's become a huge kind of part of my life since. I guess since the DVD came out and I could, 20 years later and then, set about watching it every Christmas since and doing the classic thing of watching an episode a week leading up. I've just rewatched episode 2, and there's a bit where the kids are tramping through really thick snow very early in the morning with pocketfuls of stuff they've nicked from the larder. And so there's two little lads running through the woods and the snow, eating sausage rolls, about to have an adventure, and watching Doctor Who being scrobbled by clergymen in the snow. And I just thought that there's nothing better than that, and that's become the model for a good time.
We scrobbled the old man. I'm sure it was old Mr. Hawlings. Our Punch and Judy man. Suddenly looked jolly like him. But who are they? And what would they want him for? I
still love it, and I love all the performances in all 6 of these episodes. Every episode has some starry moment. Yeah, it's great.
So you rewatch The Box of Delights every single year?
Sometimes I sneak in a bit of a summer watch as well. There are other ones. There are, things. I love The Secret Garden when they did that. That's a very summery one. I love Tom's Midnight Garden. I love the books that they're based on. But for some reason, there's magic distilled in this particular adaptation. I don't know what it is.
Mr. Hawlings!
Don't be feared. Press to the left and go
I think it was one of those ones where there's a lot of people coming together and doing their best work just at that moment. So it's incredibly dense and rich. And, people laugh at special effects and so on, but these were state-of-the-art things at the time. They were using a blend of puppetry and masks, cartoons and fledgling CGI, I guess, whatever it is. But it was a lovely mix, but also using the best of what the BBC had always done, going right back, costume drama, and people talking in ridiculously camp voices. All that kind of drama I love, with those kind of special effects, which might, look a bit shonky, 30-odd years later, but who cares?
They want my box of delights that I showed you at the inn. I've not had it long. It is Master Arnold's box, not mine. And though I've sought him and called him, I've not found him. Gone a long way back as Master Arnold.
But excuse me, but doesn't the box protect you from the wolves?
Oh, they run me close with that new magic, which I can't guard myself against. Not anymore. 'Cause I'm old now and only know the old magic. No, Master K. I look to you. Will you keep it and see that they never get it?
And the music's great as well.
The music's fabulous, and perfect blend of something that's essentially classic with the twinkly twonk of the radiophonic fellas.
So The Box of Delights gets you in the mood for Christmas?
Yep, couldn't be better.
Okay, so it's 7:30. What's your next choice?
next choice is Crossroads.
And why on earth have you chosen Crossroads?
Because it's about sitting with a tea tray and beans on toast. And Crossroads exists in a space in my head that's always cosy, like the rooms of Coronation Street. And it's something to do with studio-based drama and all, you know, these rooms looking the same. And they've carved out a space in your head, and they will always, so Meg's sitting room, the olive-coloured walls and the peculiar shaped windows, and where the furniture is, that's a space in my head that's always going to be a place I can go back to, like the TARDIS console. I'm sick of talking about Doctor Who, I'm sorry. And that's always there. And this particular episode, which is Christmas Eve 1979, I believe, so it's right at the end of the 70s, with the cast that was, I guess, lots of them were on their way out. They all assemble for a party in Meg's sitting room. She has a few nibbles out. There's kind of miniature sausage rolls in evidence. And all the characters' threads tend towards this party, at which there happens to be a jazz combo in the corner, and she suddenly goes into a song from Auntie Mame, and that's how the episode finishes, and it's just outrageous that she does this number looking like a kind of clown, really. I mean, she's an outrageous camp artist.
Oh, come on now, Meg. How about a song from you?
Oh, yes, come on.
Come on, please. Yes, press.
All right, John. Camping. Bring out the holly, light up the tree before my spirit falls again. Fill up the stocking. We may be rushing things, but deck the halls again now.
Every second through the episode, all the twining threads, the peculiar girl and her terrifying bearded father who wants to keep her indoors and not let her go with Leonard to the hospital Christmas party. That's a whole subplot. And when you watch episodes like this out of context, you're like, who are these bizarre people? What on earth was that weird psychodrama? But when you watch it as a kind of Christmas ritual, it gets funny. Ooh, Leonard, I had a lovely time at the hospital party. All those scenes. And then, you know, Stephen Thorne, who was Omega and Azal, I'm sorry, in Doctor Who, comes on as a weird chauffeur having a row with his miserable wife in the foyer of the Crossroads Motel. And their dialogue in this scene, which I hope you'll pick out as a clip, is astonishingly bad and horrible and badly learned, and I don't know what they're talking about. Clearly code for something sexy, but I've no idea what's going on.
Well, there have been mistakes, I grant you. Too many, perhaps, but in the end, on balance, I'd say I was in credit.
Self-sufficiency.
What?
Always been your strong point. Well, I hope it'll see you through, because I haven't felt I could do this. Not until now. I don't know, perhaps I'm seeing things in a different light. Anyway, I can do it now.
I'm sorry, you've lost me again. Do what?
And when I saw Stephen Thorne at a Doctor Who convention, he held open the door in this kind of grand way and said, you know, come through. I was dying to say your best thing ever was that scene at Christmas. And he would have no memory, would he, of that? So I never did. But this whole episode, you know, Rosemary's there, who's married to David Hunter, she was later to shoot him on a shag pile carpet in February, and he leaked pink blood onto the fake lamb's wool. You just think, you watch them singing, "We Need a Little Christmas," with a mince pie in one hand, and there she is, and you can see her eyes are crazy. She's thinking, I'm going to shoot that bastard before bloody Easter. Oh, it's a wonderful show.
Well, so far, all I've got are more questions, so I'm leaving.
For Switzerland?
It is my home. And there's no reason for me to stay on here now, is there?
Well, you said you wanted to spend more time together. Private time, you said.
You always seem so preoccupied with your work.
I'll make time.
Well, I don't want to put extra pressure on you.
Well, I thought it was a good idea when you suggested it, and I still think it's a good idea.
If you want me to stay, David, I will.
I mean, what I heard was that they over-rehearsed, that there was two versions. There was the short version, if they were running short of time, so it's like, come on. You could see someone. And cut to the one with the fewer lines in, or the longer version, which if it was... so you can see them swerving between grooves, like, is it the fast one, is it the short? And I think sometimes they're on different pages, which just adds to it. I love it. I can't stand the glossiness of contemporary soap. And watching things like Hollyoaks, which seems to me the closest we have to it, but you've got these weird people who wear new clothes everywhere they go, and everyone looks more or less the same. They're spray painted with pate, and every episode's with one bloke going, "Oh no, I've kissed a man." Every single episode. No. Crossroads had such variety.
Down that chimney, it's been a long time since we've felt good neighbourly. Slice up the fruitcake, it's time to hang some tins.
Okay, Crossroads takes up to 8 o'clock, and your next choice, Paul, isn't Christmassy at all.
A real treasure now on BBC Two. We're off to Blackpool for a shampoo and set, and that's something special provided by 3 salons at the seaside.
My third choice might not seem Christmassy on the surface, but it's loads of old ladies, and I just think old ladies are Christmassy. You know, if I think about Christmas, I just think old ladies, and especially old ladies at the seaside having their hair done.
I have my eyebrows done, I have my manicure and my pedicure. What's pedicure?
It's a documentary that has nothing to do with Christmas that I just adore. It's my favourite piece of TV ever, and it's called 3 Salons at the Seaside. It was on the BBC in about 1994, and it's an absolute gem. I think it's been repeated once. I taped it on VHS, living in a student house, and kept the tape, and then transferred it to disc when we got a disc machine or whatever it is in 2006, and I've just treasured it and make everybody watch this. And it's essentially a filmmaker, whose name I forget, which is terrible. We can find out and add that.
It's Philippa Lowthorpe.
She obviously spends days and days and days in 3 salons in Blackpool and just films the old ladies behaving and chatting, maundering on, gossiping, digging over past grievances and telling terrible stories and giggling. And it's just bliss. It's got the most wonderful soundtrack. And while these ladies sit there, really still in the dryers, there's a girl going past on roller skates really fast outside, and you see her intercut with it. So it's a brilliant meditation on death, mostly.
Oh, it was terrible. The lady from the laundrette came in to verify this story. Was it our Betty that had died? And we said, well, it couldn't possibly be. I'd spoken to her on the phone, and Greta had seen her. And it turned out it was Betty Edwards, who used to live on Abbotsford, and who then moved up to Fairfax, where Betty lives, and only lived a few doors away. But oh, what a rumour.
The young woman, younger, she's 50-odd, with rock-hard white meringue hair and big dark glasses, pulls out the funeral bag at one point. She says, oh, I've set this aside for the ladies going to funerals, because we have a lot. And she said, I put some mints in, and a bit of money, and a hanky. And she said, this bag's been to so many funerals. And she's got a ledger with everybody whose hair she's done who's dead. And she said, in case there's any confusion, because rows do break out.
I do keep a record, actually, of when clients have died, because we're always getting discrepancies in the shop on, oh, when did Mrs. Such-a-Body die? So rather than we'd say the wrong date and upset anybody, I usually pull out my little paper that starts in 1980 and goes through, as I say, up to present day, and we can always make sure that we've got the right time and the right day, more or less, because tales do get exaggerated in a hairdresser's, and I do like to keep my clients sort of on the straight and narrow if I can. So this is my list that I keep.
She's like the figure at the gates of hell. You know, it's like she's dispatching them. And we just watch old ladies having their hair washed and talking about, you know, the ones who aren't there. And when they come in, they're greeted, you know, as... Because obviously they were coming every week to have their shampoos and set. Hello, Mrs. Buckham. Oh, there's Mrs. Buckham. All that stuff. It's just, I love it. It's like listening, for me, to my Nana and her friends, and the kind of absolute nonsense I grew up listening to that I just loved, sitting under the kitchen table as the aunties talked. Because, of course, the men didn't talk. And this is pure northern working class stuff. The fellas sit through, not talking to each other. They sit in the other room watching football or darts or something, and the women just pull the world and everybody else to bits in the kitchen, or the hairdressers. Yeah, no, it's riven with all kinds of just kind of your everyday tragedy and courage.
Because Mrs. Duckworth's just become a widow for 3 months, and you understand what people are thinking and that, you know. It's a terrible thing to become a widow, even if I've got children, I've got grandchildren, but you're on your own. You're on your own. It's a terrible thing. And so Hilda needs me. I think she does. And once she comes to sack me, well, then I become redundant. I'll move on to something else at church, you see, because I work at church as well.
So I think it's a stunning piece of TV, and I just wish we had more. I'm sick of reality shows in which people are paid ponies and arseholes and trot around showing off. This is about, it's proper life, and we've lost that sense of, that's what reality TV. When you go back to documentaries like, is it Paul Watkins who made The Family in the 70s? That level of stuff. It's rare that we get that. I think Big Brother's always been a wonderful TV show because we get moments like 3 salons at the seaside in Big Brother, but nobody kind of dwells on those moments. They dwell on the other stuff. But now I'm a great believer in just listening to people and then have somebody brilliant edit the thing together into a piece of art, which I think this is.
So I take it from that, Mrs. Lawson, you are definitely not going in a rest home.
No, I'm not ready for that yet.
Have you brought any snacks with you? Any Christmas snacks?
I would have brought some snacks because my ideal Christmas snack is it's now almost fabled. There was a particular sausage roll that Marks and Spencer's did. This is like going out with my nana in Newcastle and fetching things. I've brung up some sausage rolls, you'd say, from Marks's. And they did these lattice sausage rolls that involved tomato and cheese, and they were just incredible. And you'd eat them almost cold with a pastry undercooked. Terrible indigestion. The life of reflux beckoned. But you can't get them now. So we're not having out. I brought no.
You brought nothing.
I depend on Jeremy going out to the shop and coming back, and usually with stuff that he likes, which means endless crisps and mint imperials.
I'll get you a mince pie then. Well,
I'm not.
We're not keen on mince pies. Brussels sprouts.
I love Brussels sprouts,
Right.
but I wouldn't sit eating Brussels sprouts. That's ridiculous now.
Okay. Well, while I'm thinking about what to get you to eat, at 8:45, your next choice is.
Shut that door and enjoy the generation game. What's in store? The best of relations is our aim. Larry Grayson is here to play, so
shut that door.
My next choice is Larry Grayson's Generation Game. I'd grown up from being little and Bruce Forsyth showing off, really. He would always drub the contestants' face in their own failure, and that I can do this better, and off he would go and dance. And you think, I don't care. You're being paid, they're not. And the lure of a sweet sherry in the BBC bar was all they were getting, and a chance to look stupid on telly. But when Larry comes in, he spends all his time making himself look terrible at what he's doing. He's so modest and so funny with it. His shtick is that he can't do this, and he's not, he's not a good talker. And of course, he's wonderful. He draws them out, and he gets them to act up in ridiculous ways. And he was I remember at the time, kind of sitting with family and them saying how awful he was at doing this. But it's a very gentle, very self-deprecating, silly sense of humour, and filthy.
Seems like a nice boy. You see, I get a lot of letters, an awful lot of letters sent to me, and I answer as many as I can. I mean, all you people that have written into me, you'll be hearing from me, but for worried of Epping Forest, if you get a bit of beeswax and a bit of liniment on the end of a loofah, I'm sure you'll find it'll work.
The episode I've picked is New Year, 1979, and he had this running shtick where there was a sliding door, and a guest would come out, and it would surprise him. Who's round the back? When it gets to New Year, 1979, they're going to look back on the whole of the year and pick out the best clips. And we go through the door into Larry's special parlour with Larry and Isla, the Scottish songstress who stood by the scoreboard and helped him along and reminded him of the script usually. So they sit in his parlour, which is, there's a plush velour settee and a Christmas tree bedecked in Woolworths decorations, and they sit there with a box of chocolates and a roaring fire and loads of Christmas cards, and essentially it's Larry's TARDIS, which, I was keen on seeing. I assume that's what it was.
So here we are.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
Yeah, isn't it lovely?
Ooh.
This is the room. The room.
Chocolates.
I know.
I must have one.
No expense has been spared. Well, here we are, about to shut that door on the 1970s.
And it's New Year's Eve, so we thought we'd take the opportunity of looking back at some of the old acquaintances we made on the Generation Game over the past year.
And they look at clips and they just piss themselves. They watch, the telly that we had, a wooden-sided telly with slightly blue picture, and laugh at clips of themselves helplessly, because it is bloody funny.
You see, Ali, you said father and daughter, and it was mother and son.
Did I?
Yeah, now look at it again. Our first contestants who are here tonight to play our Generation Game.
And Kent and Avon, father and daughter, Pat and Andy Thompson.
It was mother and son.
I didn't know I'd done it. I didn't.
I know. Now they've got all the neighbours talking, haven't they?
It's the level of just silly unprofessionalism of it. And the clips are delightful, and they talk about this being the end of the 70s, and by the end, when they raise a toast, it's, we wonder what the 80s hold, and you think, you poor bastards. This show's going for a start.
Well, we've certainly had a lot of fun this year, and it's almost time to put away the memories and start preparing for the 1980s. Anyway, I see that the Orient Express is about to pull into the studio with my very good friend Hercules.
Poirot.
That's it. I'm not very good at names at all, Well, I don't care.
I mean, for me, the end of the 70s was the end of lots of things and changes in my family. And, and looking back, it's a great kind of hinge in everything at that point. And to watch Larry and Isla sat in his back parlour, wondering and giggling and drinking sherry and looking a bit tipsy, to be honest, is sweet. It's a very sweet episode, but you can dip into any episode of, and very few of them are around. You certainly don't get DVD box sets of Larry Grayson's Generation Game, and I wish you did. To watch people making complete tits of themselves, it's just heaven.
Lastly, you are Janet Hinchcliffe. What?
Hinchcliffe.
Hinchcliffe. Oh, I see. It's the C before the L. Inchcliffe.
No, Hinchcliffe, there's no second C.
There's what?
There's no second C. It's Hinchcliffe.
Is that wrong?
That's wrong.
Could I speak to the girl that typed this out?
Again, it's that thing of people weren't very professional at being themselves in the past. They'd just turn up, and it's like playing parlour games at home, and here's so-and-so's popped round and I don't know, I sound like such an old fart, but now people are so good at being themselves on TV and give such a good account of themselves. You think, let's just stop being so practiced at being you. I want to see the rough edges. That's the essence of TV, really. It's putting a lens on the kind of the hopelessness that we all demonstrate in being us in public, the embarrassment of being ourselves on show.
You know something? One of these days we're going to rehearse this show. We promise we will rehearse it next year.
I'm glad to say there's one grape left for me.
Yes, there is just one grape left. The chocolates have gone, the cake's gone, and the fruit's gone. The fruit was made of wax. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed the series. We both most certainly have, and we look forward to being back next year. And we'd like to wish you a very happy New Year.
A good New Year to Ain and all.
And that goes for me too. Ta, we both love you very much.
Take care.
Bye.
Shut that door. We've just played the Generation.
OK, your next choice at 9:45 is very Christmassy indeed.
We're headed home so we can start to celebrate. Fill up the stockings. We may be rushing things, but we can hardly wait now.
The Muppet Family Christmas Special from 1987. Not something I think that got shown over here, so I saw it many years later. And of course, 87's a big important year in the world of the Muppets, because while Henson's doing this Christmas special, he's also done The Storyteller with John Hurt, which is one of the best TV shows, I think, ever, with a retelling of European fairy tales through puppets and amazing performances. And Labyrinth, which is one of the best things ever. But you have this Christmas special in which all the puppets get together and sing songs and converge on Fozzie's mother's house. When she thinks she's off to Bermuda, she's actually going to play host to 1 million crazy puppets.
This is the best idea we've had in years. Christmas at my mother's farm.
Sounds great, Fozzie, but don't you think we should have called your mother to let her know we were coming?
Oh, how little you understand bears, Kermit. My mother loves surprises.
Good thing she's in for beauty.
And essentially, it's the best thing the Muppets ever did. I think it's hilarious. Everyone reverts to type. Everyone sings a song. They find Fraggle Rock in the basement, and they get a song.
Wow.
All the characters from Sesame Street turn up to sing outside the house, and that's quite a teary moment. For some reason, this convergence of characters from different shows who are all made out of fun fur fabric is incredibly moving. And I still find it like that. And it is, it's the cliches about families getting together at Christmas and they play them out completely. I've always had that kind of hankering for stories that are about team-ups, and I think I've been cured by the Marvel Universe films, I must say. Which, I've gone off that now.
This is the Muppet version of the extended universe.
Completely, they were always there first, I think. And it's Miss Piggy trying to get there and being blown back by the elements all the time. There's some wonderful jokes.
All right, the huge canary sleeps in the attic with the cookie eater.
Check.
The blue monster said he'd sleep in the bathtub.
Check.
And Ernie and Bert will bunk out with a lizard here.
Frog. Kermit Frog.
What about Oscar?
No, I'll be nicely miserable in my trash can here.
Hey, maybe I could bunk out here with you.
I never had a rat in my trash can before. That might be nice.
Hey, everybody, look what I've got. Christmas cookies!
Cookies! Oh, thank you.
Who was that strange blue creature?
That my kind of fella.
It begins with the very song that the Crossroads that we just watched ended with. So there's a touch of Mame running through this. And Mame as in, not break your legs, Mame as in anti-Mame. Yeah, that wouldn't be Christmassy.
What's your favourite part of this episode?
Not the Muppet Babies bit, that's the only bum now. I can't bear the Muppet Babies, whoever had that idea. No, my favourite thing is right at the end where everybody's singing. You have an extended medley of carols. And then the camera pans to the kitchen where you see a bloke with a beard doing all the washing up, and the dog's helping him. The dog from Fraggle Rock is helping him, and you realise it's Jim Henson, and he's explaining to the dog that he's happy when all the Muppets are happy, and carries on with the washing up, and it's because somebody has to at Christmas, and then it's finished, and you realise, of course, he didn't have much longer left to live, and I think I'm not sure, but I think it's the last thing that he did and put his name to, I think. Yeah, fantastic finish to a really wonderful career.
Well, they certainly seem to be having a good time out there, Sprocket. Yeah, I like it when they have a good time. But I tell you what, somebody's got to do something about these dishes, Sprocket. Come on, I'll wash and you dry, okay?
Good tidings to you, wherever you are. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Look up, dear. Mistletoe.
Who's your favourite Muppet?
Actually, I don't know. Gonzo's great. Gonzo's always good because he's kind of he's like Woody Allen in Woody Allen movies where he stands slightly tangential to the fiction. Oh God, what do I sound like? He's funny. He's got chickens. He sleeps with chickens. That's hilarious.
So do you watch this every year? Is this something that you get out every year?
Yeah, I have about 18 hours worth of TV that I have to get through on Christmas Eve. Well, Christmas Eve isn't that long. I have to be dragged off to bed. I've got to get through Cagney and Lacey's Christmas special. There's K9 and Company, which I've not mentioned. All these things take a... Have I mentioned K9 and Company? I think I left it out because I didn't want to talk about Doctor Who because I know you don't like it.
You've not done a good job so far.
And
you mentioned it once, but I think you got away with it.
I didn't. There's an awful lot to get through, and I have to watch it all. It's a kind of, it's a ritual. Otherwise, the Badabook or whatever. Was it called a Badabook?
Badadook?
No, that's a duck. A Candyman will turn up if you don't watch all of Christmas in order.
Okay, it's 10:30, and your next choice isn't K9 and Company.
To the Real Christmas Show. We're having a bit of a party here and we're going to be unwrapping Christmas. We're going to be showing you Christmas as it really is.
My 10:30 choice, it's another piece of reality TV. It's, I think it was Channel 4, and I taped it at the time in 96. And it's a show called The Real Christmas Show, presented by Gabby Roslin. and she had a show, I think, called The Real Holiday Programme, where they would give people video cameras and they'd make short video diaries about their holidays. And in this case, it's Christmas, and it's the previous Christmas. It's Christmas '95. The year is my first year away from home at Christmas, and I was in Edinburgh, and it snowed everywhere in the country. And for this special, there are, I think, 7 families, and they've all made video diaries of Christmas '95. They're all in different parts of the country, and they're different kinds of families, and some are dead poor, some are quite well off, and some are rough as guts. Anyway, so then they're all in the studio in Christmas '96. It's probably July '96, isn't it? And it's like a winter wonderland, getting hammered on red wine by the looks of it. And she's in this kind of gold lame suit thing, and she's going from table to table talking to these families who describe last Christmas. Well, people have died, people have had strokes, people have fallen out, as is the nature of Christmas. And then we watch these video diaries. Well, I've watched this every year since '96. Again, one of these things that I hiked off VHS onto disc and make everybody I know watch, because it's a beautiful piece of social history, really.
Jessica is getting on my nerves a bit because, you know, she's a sulk.
Jess, so I want you to tell me about why you think you haven't got much presents this year.
Shut up.
No, I want to know.
I'm not telling you. Probably not one of the best Christmases I've had. I'm quite happy with the presents. Some of them have been a bit naff. Christmas. I don't wish it was every day, because then it just wouldn't be anything special, would it? But maybe twice a year. That'd be good.
So the families are ones that I feel as if I've got to know in all that time. There's a quite, loud and raucous family of Scousers. That's the one where the old mother's died since then, and they laugh about it in the studio because it's what she would have wanted. She wouldn't want to be miserable. And a Newcastle family where the women are working at a taxi firm and have to open presents at 3 a.m, and you can see they've had a few drinks, and the snow comes down, and she's forgotten to buy the bread, and she's gone around Morrison's and can't get bread, and just things like that. I just love it. It's a whole show about stuff like that. And then this very middle class couple, younger, in Cornwall, who have all their friends to stay in their cottage, and she's had terrible things wrong with her. She's had a heart and lungs transplant, and they know it's going to reject at some point, but this is the first Christmas she's felt well for years. So they have all their friends, and all their friends jump in the sea on Boxing Day. They make all this food, and obviously they have a whale of a time, but again, it's stricken with this terrible sadness underneath.
Last year I was just completely laying down. Jonathan had to do everything. Christmas morning, I'd been home about 10 days, I suppose, and I had to sit in the kitchen and issue instructions on what to do with the turkeys, what vegetables to do. I was feeling faint and dizzy, and I would have given anything to have come down to the beach for a walk, because it is such a pleasure for me. I love it. This is what makes it all worthwhile.
And of course now it's, 23 years ago since all these Christmases, and you can't help thinking, what became of everyone? Weirdly, with the Scouse family, I did go to... years afterwards, I went to Portugal, and I flew out from John Lennon Airport, and I just went by myself. I love travelling places by myself, because you are kind of, because you're not talking to anyone, you're listening to everybody else. And there was this loud, raucous Scouse voice from the table of the pub next to me. This woman's talking to a friend. I thought, I know that voice. And I thought, is it someone I know? No, it's a woman off The Real Christmas Show. And I was dying to go over and say, I'm a big fan of your Christmas 1995. You can't, can you? She'd think, you absolute weirdo. I bet she's forgotten what went on. She's the one where she's cooking for the whole family. You can see she never cooks a meal all year round, and she's knackered because she's having to mash potatoes, and she gets all the timings wrong. And the family starts singing, Why Are We Waiting? And she comes through with a knife and she says, I'm going to cut the throats of the lot of yous.
Does everybody want carrot and swede? Yes. Why are we waiting? We're waiting because I haven't got a sharp knife clean yet for you.
Where's the gaffer?
We're going to cut the throats on you. It's going to be a clean one.
Where's the gaffer?
I never look forward to Christmas. It seems to be a woman's thing. The fellas don't seem to do anything for Christmas. It's the woman who runs around like a blue-ass fly. And you're absolutely shattered. It can take you a few weeks after Christmas to get to get all your energies back.
So I can hear this voice going, well, I'm sat in the airport, and I just couldn't say to her, because it was her. I know your work. The idea that these characters are about in the world is enough for me. Yeah, but no, it's one of my absolute favourite bits of telly. I know lots of people for your podcast will choose canonical, kind of proper telly, and I should be choosing Whistle and I'll Come to You, you know, the M.R. James's Ghost Story for Christmas, that kind of stuff. I'm not. I'm choosing completely ephemeral stuff that I've somehow latched onto, and to me they feel eternal, but they're probably not.
Well, that's about it for the Real Christmas Show. Just time to say a big thank you to everyone that let us share their Christmas. And love it or hate it, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas.
Okay, Paul, it's 11:30. I'm going to have a snowball. Can I get you a drink?
11:30 and you're asking me if I want a drink? A snowball sounds good. Jeremy loves a snowball, and 20 years ago when we first got our first house, we lay on the settee watching Christmas movies on Christmas Eve, and the living room had it opened straight to the street, the front door, and we passed out on the settee watching It's a Wonderful Life because we didn't think snowballs were that strong and we couldn't move. And our new friend Stephen over the road was looking through the letterbox at us and thought we'd died. And it was Advocaat inspired
Coma.
Induced coma, yeah. Death by eggnog.
That's why I haven't given you any until this point.
No, I wouldn't. It's too frothy. I'd probably have a gin and tonic. That's really dull, isn't it?
Yeah, not a baby show.
No.
It's got to be Gordon's.
Okay, Paul, I'll get you a gin and tonic while we start your final choice.
My final choice is a really spooky, dark, grueling horror story. Now, I mean, having said that about M.R. James before, that I haven't chosen one of the great ghost stories for Christmas. I like them, they're okay. No, I love them. Some of them are stupid, but the one with the bin bag coming up the beach after Michael Horden, classic. But ITV decided, they're doing these classy M.R. James things. Well, we'll do our own version. We'll get Willis Hall, who's a wonderful writer, who's partly responsible for Wurzel Gummidge, and lots of other lovely things. The BBC have Michael Horden, really classy, wonderful actors appearing in theirs. We'll get Elaine Stritch.
So the boy murdered his own sister right in this very room.
Cut her throat.
On Christmas Eve.
Elizabeth was 7, Nicholas was 9.
But why? Just for the hell of it, or did he have a reason?
So they put Elaine Stritch, star of Broadway, and so on, into a spooky house where she's meant to be a kind of a film location scout who goes to spend Christmas with these impoverished aristos staying in the corner of an old house that's meant to be haunted for various reasons, and it's open to the public but it's closed over Christmas. And you've got Stephanie Cole as a kind of Mrs. Danvers, very hatchet-faced, evil housekeeper who scares the shit out of Elaine Stritch when she's left alone when the two poshos go and deliver presents to the old lady up the lane. And so essentially we're watching Mrs. Danvers haunt Elaine Stritch around this house. So you've got lots of creeping menace, lots of studio-bound drama, lots of ghostly, dark, filmed stuff outside, and then Elaine Stritch running around the house in big, clomping high heels and a terrible tunic dress, shouting, like a kind of elderly vulture in drag as she flaps between levels of the set. And there are some genuinely scary, I mean, it's ludicrous and camp and stupid, but there's some amazingly scary bits. So she gets a cat dropped on her head at one point, and I defy you not to yell out in shock when that happens, even if I've spoiled it just now. It's, got waxwork, child killer dummies coming to life and all sorts of stuff. Brilliant.
Sounds like Doctor Who.
No, it's nothing like it. Doctor Who at the time didn't do anything creepy. 83, there was nothing spooky about Doctor Who. It looked more like Larry Grayson's Generation came. It was light entertainment, wasn't it? I love when they do special episodes of sitcoms and they go spooky, like this. The great serial killer axe murderer episode of Only Fools and Horses, which is one of the best things ever. 2.4 Children did a Lonely House on the Moors axe murderer episode 2. They've all got to have it. That thing when TV drama can just turn a corner and become chilling. and uncanny. And I guess because it's so homely, and the flip side of that is that, you know, it's a scary place. I'm slipping into Halloween territory, aren't I, and spooky things. But Christmas, you have to have a good, creepy story to finish with, I think. Yeah, and Christmas Spirits really is it. And it has the Coventry Carol repeated as a theme throughout, which is one of the most beautiful pieces of Christmas music, I think.
So this is Paul Magrs' idea of a perfect night in. The wolves are running at 7 o'clock, but will the box of delights keep them at bay? That's followed by a festive edition of Crossroads, and then we're off to the seaside at 8, more precisely to 3 salons where some old ladies are getting their hair done. Larry Grayson and Isla St. Clair bring us back into a festive mood at 8:45 in the Generation Game, while A Muppet Family Christmas is unwrapped an hour later. Gabby Roslin's looking at family home movies at 10:30 in The Real Christmas Show. And then a late night chiller starring Elaine Stritch and Stephanie Cole, Christmas Spirits. And if I were you, I'd watch that with a friend.
I've got one last question for you, and that is if you could share your perfect night in with anyone living or dead, who would you choose?
Oh, that's really hard. Everybody who was at our family Christmas party in 1980. It was the one time we had a party around our house, and it was hilarious. It was a big sing-song, and it was like those episodes of soaps where one cast was fading out and the new younger ones were coming in, and that was all true of that time as well. There's a great episode of Coronation Street where there's a sing-song around somebody's house, and you can see the old guard there with the younger members, and that's what this party was like. Maybe all family parties are like that. I would love to reconvene that party somehow, impossible as it is, and
make them watch all this TV.
Oh, they wouldn't sit for they wouldn't watch the shit I watch. Are you kidding? See, all the things that I treasure are things that they would absolutely see as ephemeral and useless and wasteful and ridiculous.
We don't think that, Paul.
Bet you do.
And thank you so much for sharing your perfect night in at Christmas.
Well, thank you for asking me to talk absolute nonsense. Oh no, I've kissed a man.